Hello everyone and welcome to Suzuka, host for the penultimate round of Season 7, where our drivers will be fighting round this historic circuit to try and claim victory as the season nearly rounds to an end. Let's jump straight into the qualifying results and one of the biggest qualifying pole times of the season. Play Dutchy on pole position in his Porsche once again with a 1 minute 58.0, nearly 5/10 quicker than Cameron Kaboom, who joins him on the front row of the grid with a 1 minute 58.5. So yeah, nearly 5/10 off of pole position. In third place, Bon Evil 99. On the second row of the grid, just behind him, Natty G starting in fourth place in the McLaren. In fifth, Tiger Assassin running his Australian themed livery, continuing it on from Mount Panorama, round 8. And in sixth place, Abyss with a great qualifying time from him, but 1.4 seconds off pole position in sixth place. A very spread out qualifying grid. Behind him in seventh place is the Scout Down with a great qualifying performance in that Nissan GTR and was able to qualify ahead of Topster in his McLaren. Behind Topster is Black Country Mush in ninth place, 2 seconds off pole position, starting in ninth place. 2 seconds was probably the distance between first and 15th at Road Atlanta. Now it's separating the top 9. Just behind him is Fortman's in 10th place, and behind him Aston F1 in 11th place, just inside the top 11, where the points are scored are given for the race. And behind him, one of his rivals, Wolfie 907, in 11th place, and at the back is Ted MC, also in the Nissan GTR. We trying to fight for some points this race. And there is your top 13 for the Japanese Grand Prix. I'm going to have a quick drink and then we can get this race underway. So without further ado, let's do Japanese Grand Prix. Suzuka is host to the 12th round in the championship. 5.8 kilometres, only 400 metres down towards turn 1. And away we go for 28 racing laps here in Suzuka. Dutchy's off to a slow start. Cameron Kaboom with a good start on the inside. Can try and challenge going in towards turn 1. Maybe Bonnie will trying to find a way past the Dutchman, but Dutchy conceding position off the start. Meanwhile, Tiger and Abyss going side by side in the battle for 5th place. Looks like Tiger's just got out ahead in that battle, and Aston ahead of Wolfie down at the back. Ted up to 12th place as Fortman's has dropped to 13th place. Cameron Kaboom though leading the field through the Estes section for the first time in this race, with Dutchy closely behind in second, and Bon Evil rounding out the top 3. I believe everyone is starting on the medium compound tyres. But a clean getaway from the field. Topster maintaining 7th as Dan's actually dropped down to 8th. Topster's got up into 7th place after starting in 8th. A little bit wide from the other McLaren. Natty, who's just dropped off the back of Bonnie a little bit in this race, is under pressure from Tiger Assassin, maybe struggling to get those mediums up to temperature. But going through Spoon Curve now for the first time in this race, and it is Cameron Kaboom leading the field. Ahead of Dutchy, Bonnie in the top 3, Natty, Tiger and Abyss, the 3 behind them. The Scout Down's got back ahead of Topster, somewhere from between the hairpin and Spoon Curve, but Topster's all over the back of the Nissan. Bump drafting the Brits as they make their way down towards 130R for the first time this race, as Tiger's actually gone a little bit deep, and as lets Abyss go through on the inside. Someone's very wide, that's Black Country Mush onto the grass, side by side with Aston F1 going through the final chicane. And I think there's a little bit of contact with Ted going side by side with Fortman. As the 2 Irishmen now going side by side through the final corner at the back of the grid, running in 12th and 13th place. Not the best start for those two drivers, the Brothers of Destruction. Ahead of them, though, Black Country Mission Fortman's going side by side towards turn 1, but I can't actually remember who got the move done. It looks like Fortman's is ahead of that Mercedes, actually, as we ride on board with Cameron Kaboom ahead of Clay Dutch and Bon Eagle with the top 3. Hobbs has got back ahead of the Scout down towards the final chicane. Aston ahead of Fortman's in 9th, Black Country Mush in 10th place. It's very close between those two in the championship. Black Country Mush and Aston only separated by a point or two, I believe, going into this race. Currently the two Irishmen, the two drivers outside of the points paying positions. But so far in this race, it's a sight which we're used to seeing. Clay Dutchy running in 2nd place in the opening few laps, just sitting behind the race leader, comfortably saving fuel so that he can have a shorter pit stop. And obviously spend less time in the pits and gain all that time back later on in the race. Nearly running wide onto the AstroTurf, something you don't want to be doing as it just washes your car wide. The top 7 though, even the top 8 I'd say, really keeping up close to each other. Aston's under pressure from Fortman's down the back, straight in towards 130R. Unfortunately, maybe go for a move. Doesn't look like he's close enough to on this lap. But Suzuka is just a waiting game, trying to keep it clean and consistent. The track, especially in GT3 cars, really punishes mistakes, running wide at turn 1 or trying to go too quick to the acids. Here goes Bon Eagle side by side with his teammate, who have racked up the Constructors' Championship going into this race with the absent Piero. And Bon Eagle's wide, too deep down towards the first corner, onto the AstroTurf, and rejoins back in 3rd place. Doesn't concede a position to any of the cars behind. As we were speaking about mistakes and Suzuka punishing drivers, there's one from the 3rd place man in the championship, running 3rd in this race on lap 3 with the fastest lap, a 2 minute 0.0, nearly a 2 minute dead. You'd expect the fastest lap time to get quicker as the fuel decreases and the mediums get replaced for the fastest softs. The strategy at this race, expect it to be a 1 or a 2 stop, medium soft or a medium soft, depending on if drivers can stretch out the initial medium stints. And you might see the likes of Tobster, who know are good at conserving tyres, maybe just ease off the throttle a little bit, maintain 7th position rather than attacking tyres in 6th, make those mediums go 16, 17 laps and doing the final stint on a set of the softs. Looks like in the early phases of this race, the top 9 separated by, let's have a look, 20, 30, maybe 10 seconds between the top 9, which is really close at the end of 3 laps of racing, especially a technical track like Suzuka. Tiger trying to put Abyss under pressure in the early phases of the race. You can see how much the Nissan is working its front tyres compared to the Porsche behind. Abyss maybe trying to push to maintain 5th position, whereas Tiger could be playing the long game and trying to conserve those medium tyres to go for a later attack or even attempt the one-stop strategy. We'll have to wait and see. But up front, Cameron Kaboom's got a little bit of a gap for Dutchy. Not by much, but a little bit of breathing space that means Dutchy might have to turn the engine up a little bit to close down that gap again and get within the slipstream range. Has gone purple to the first sector, and it is the race leader with the fastest lap of the race thus far. Meanwhile, the Scout down closer to Tobster, and Tobster is to the back of Tiger Assassin. But slightly poor qualifying from Tobster, down in 8th place I believe it was, but has gained a position off the start. He is nearly 2.5 purple to the middle or the second sector I should say, as Abyss defensive to the inside as Tiger tries to work his way round the outside of the Nissan GTR. Let's ride on board with the Porsche as he struggles to find a way past Abyss, even in the straight part of the track, but Abyss parking his car in the middle of the circuit, making it awkward for Tiger to try and find a way through on the in or outside. Beautiful camera shot of the cars making their way through the exit of Steam Curve. Turn 13 and 14. Down the back straight they go, in towards 130R, nearly flat out in these GT3 cars, just a little lift. And with wind speeds of 4.2 meters per second heading south, or from the north, whichever way you want to say it. Is it going to help? It might help a little bit. It's better than a tailwind down towards turn 1. Speaking of going in towards the first corner, on board with Tiger Assassin, not close enough to go for a move on the car in front. Going to the front of the grid, Cameron Kaboom with a 5/10 penalty. It's going to have to serve that at some point in this race, and it will be this lap the next time he goes through the back straight. And he's built up a decent lead, about a second or two to Play Dutchie behind, but 3/10 purple through the first step. There is Play Dutchie closing that gap. Now he's staying with Bon Evil just about. Looks like Abyss and Tiger have just dropped off the back of the front four as Topster closes down that gap to the car in front. I'm just going to get this over and done with now. Apologies if commentary is a little bit lazy today. It is currently 31 degrees and boiling, and just, not as energetic as if it was an air conditioned, 18 degrees warm room. There we go. That's maybe running wide onto the AstroTurf. I think he did run wide onto the AstroTurf. His car is not coming through the school curve, as you can see all the other cars coming through. He's now facing the right direction. There you go. Let's just ride on board and see exactly what happened with the Brit. I'm going to guess ran wide onto the AstroTurf on the exit. There you go. Just dipped a wheel. Nearly collected Topster in the process. There go the other cars coming through. Waits for a clean gap in the traffic. But that's Tiger down to 9th, maybe even 10th place, as through goes Aston on the inside. Black Country Mush with a 3-second time penalty. I'm not sure what that was for. Was it for track limits? Must have been for track limits. I don't know how or where he's got 3-second time penalties from. He hasn't made a pit stop in this race. That's very interesting. But Tiger Assassin now on the attack of Aston after that mistake earlier on, down the inside. Aston's broken later, a little bit too late, onto the exit curb and back in front of Tiger Assassin. Here goes Black Country Mush now trying to fight one of his teammates, not his teammate in the championship, but they're going too wide in towards turn 1. Is Black Country going to make it 3 wide? There's Tiger Assassin a little bit of a bump draft, a ace overtake down towards turn 1, and 3 Brits fighting for 9th place. Tiger's gone wide and Aston on the inside, back up into 9th place, but Tiger's still there, wheel to wheel with the 4GT. In towards the SS section, Aston lifts off the throttle and lets Tiger go into 9th place. Now he can start his recovery drive through the field after the mistake made at turn 13. Back up to the leaders, and Cameron Kaboom has served his 5/10 penalty, and Dutchie's closed the gap down. And saving? No, he's not. He might be saving fuel, but his fuel level is similar to that of Cameron Kaboom, and the Porsche doesn't actually save its fuel compared to the other cars on the grid. See Bon Evil with worse tyre wear and less fuel in the tank. Look at the number of cars heading through the hairpin, led by Tiger Assassin. Although that by the time you get to 130R, there's 5 car fights for 9th. Unfortunately, going to go down to 4 as Black Country Mush will have to lift off the throttle for 3 seconds. He serves the penalty. But going through 130 after the sixth time this race, Cameron Caboon leads the field. Ahead of Dutch and Bonnie Evil, still the top three in this race. Dutchy just left it as well, comfortable enough to sit in fourth place. Natty's about 8/10 to a second off Bonnie Evil and not really making much of an impression. He has actually got more tyre wear to the front left than the Alfa Romeo. I don't think that's ever been said this season. A car with more tyre wear than an Alfa Romeo. In towards turn one, once again, a long swooping right-hander, really easy to over or undershoot the corner as Fortmans goes to move down the inside of down and gets the move down up in 7th place. And Thompson now up into 5th place as he's got the move down on a bit. So two McLarens running in 4th and 5th place. One of them in the name of Piero, not here tonight, nor is Toussaint. And unfortunately, those two drivers, well, Piero not being here tonight, does crown Tony Duchy the champion as they drive it into the pits. Its head off of the mediums, onto the mediums. As Tiger's actually dropped to 12th place, I'm not sure what's happened to him, but he's made another mistake somewhere, and it's down into 12th. This season goes from bad to worse for Tiger Assassin. Currently, I think 7th in the championship. Not sure he's under pressure from anyone going into the final race of the season, but his nearest rival, Cameron Caboon, is currently leading this race. John Evil nearly going onto the AstroTurf through turn 13. You can see the top three so close together, and Natty's just about keeping up, but about a second behind. You can see 1 minute 34, 35, 36. In terms of lap times for Bon Evil, it's kind of a way of judging the gaps between the drivers. About 3 or 4 seconds between Natty and Topska. After those two had a great battle in Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago. And Caboon has led every single lap of this race so far and leads another one. Starting lap 8 of 28, 21 laps more to go. Bon Evil running a little bit wide, not as wide as the McLaren behind. But Topster in 5th is starting to pull out a gap to Abyss in 6th. Dan running strongly in 7th. Ever since he changed into the Nissan GTR, he's been putting in good performances, but unfortunately will be disqualified from this race for changing car after starting the season in the Ferrari 458. So essentially, Fortmans is running in 7th place. They're 8th on the road. Aston and Wolfie, no matter where they start, they always seem to be together in every race they do. Running in 9th and 10th place, but separated by about 5 or 6 tenths. As they make their way out of the first sector into sector 2. Black Country Mush ahead of Tiger Assassin and Ted, the only driver to make a pit stop in this race, running in 13th. Dutchy's now taken the lead of the race after getting the move done on Cameron Caboon down at the hairpin. But how will the Brits fight this one back? Does he go for the move for the lead of the race, or does he sit behind and start saving some fuel? Cameron Caboon is known for making earlier pit stops in the races with using harder compounded tyres, although a slight mistake, and here goes Bon Evil on the left-hand side of the circuit. Now alongside Cameron Caboon, side by side, and Cameron Caboon has lost 2 positions in a couple of corners. Goes from 1st to 3rd, and Bon Evil now up into 2nd place. So your Constructors' champions running in 1st and 2nd, the Drivers' champion put it on pole and is now leading this race. I should have probably mentioned that at the start of the stream before we got into the race, but the absent Piero, the only one who can mathematically win the championship, automatically crowns Dutchy champion before the 5 red lights went out for the 5th time in Gavra Racing GT history. Toussaint winning the other 2. So Tay Dutchy are keeping 2, 3, 4, 5 and 7 champions who spent season 1 and 6. Out of 7 championships, we've only had 2 champions. And it looks like Thompson might be catching the front 4. I think he's gaining on the back of Natty. The gap maybe 3 or 4 seconds still. Natty just about keeping up with the front 3. He's never really been close enough to challenge for a podium position in this race. Looks like the gap between Abyss and Tobster is starting to open up. 2 minute 1.8, 2 minute 0.7, so yeah, 1.1 seconds quicker on the last lap was Tobster. He's gaining on Natty. He's the fastest man on track apart from Play Dutchy. So Tobster could be in for a shout of another podium. That's actually a little bit embarrassing. I say another podium. He's not finished on the podium this season. Could go for his first podium this season. He's only done 2 races, I believe. Oh no, 3. Sorry, he started and made his debut in Grand Valley. And he's done the first 3 American races and returns for Suzuka to see out the championship completely next week. Any early pit stops? Not on lap 10, but we're getting close to the pit stop window. Look how worn Cameron Kaboom's tyres are. Interestingly, Cameron Kaboom's worn through the fronts, whereas Bonneville's worn through the rears. That's really interesting in terms of the tyre wear between those 2 cars, the Alfa Romeo and the Lexus. Could also be the 2 driving styles. Look at that in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Massive difference between those 2. I mean, that just goes to show what tyre saving looks like, and a driver who can't save their tyres, me, both in equal machinery, so no excuses. Lap 10 of 28 and the gap out in front is just starting to extend. Maybe second or 2 between Dutchy and Bonneville. Cameron in 3rd, Nat in 4th, Hobbs in 5th. Abyss in 6th will be making an early pit stop off those mediums, I think. Dan in 7th, Portman's in 8th, who really shredded through those rear tyres. Aston in 9th, about 2 or 3 seconds ahead of Wolfie in 10th, that country Mush in 11th. Tiger in 12th, and Ted, running in 13th place, has made a pit stop. I think we should see a couple of drivers making a pit stop at the end of this lap. How many, I'm not too sure, as I think Cameron Kaboom has run wide through... Oh, where's Natty? Now he's down to 5th place. I don't even remember this happening. Also running wide through 130R. Just about keeping it on the track on the left-hand side, actually. But Tops is now up into 4th place, ahead of myself in 5th, and Cameron Kaboom is into the pits at the end of lap 10. And it looks like that might have been a late call from Natty, who dives into the pits. Abyss following him in. I think we might see Dan stays out. Fortman's into the pits. Fortman's was actually on the soft compound tyres, so it's very interesting that he could take his soft tyres nearly the same distance as Abyss and mediums. Look at that front. Look at the front right on Abyss's car compared to the rear left on Fortman's car, and they're on 2 different tyre compounds. Wolfie's into the pits as well, so all the drivers making their pit stops now, definitely on a 2-stop strategy unless they go onto the useless hard compound tyre. And I thought about making the hard tyre mandatory. I think that could really mix up the strategies. Like how they do it in the Nations Cup. Do you do a soft medium and then do the last lap on a hard tyre? Or do you go for the 1 extra pit stop, go maybe a soft hard or a medium hard and go with the pain? That could be a really interesting situation. Maybe next season we'll spice it up a bit. We do half the tracks where the medium is a mandatory tyre and the second half is a hard mandatory. And maybe we do that. Maybe rather than 2 different tyre compounds, previously we've had the soft, medium, and hard. No, we had super soft, and mediums. They were all mandatory tyres. This season, we have to use 2 different tyre compounds. It can be any 2, but maybe next year we change it race upon race. Whereas one race it might be you have to use mediums. One race you might have to use the hards. Maybe one race you might have to use the softs. Then at a high tide day circuit like Interlagos, do you do a 3 or a 4 soft, or do you use a medium? Meanwhile, Bon Evil using those medium tyres to try and get ahead of Play Duchy down and towards turn 1 on the inside and takes the lead of the race ahead of the now newly crowned Drivers' Champion, who tucks in behind and into 2nd place and scout down into the pits, running in 6th place, but we drop to a 7th, maybe 8th place after he exits the lane. But maybe we could find ourselves with an IndyCar style strategy. You know what? I'm going to write that down actually. That could be a really interesting concept. But I'm not going to leak any tyres for next season just yet, because we're going to keep on focused with the current season. There's still 2 races to go, or 1 after this one. Thought Dutchy was going to go for a little bit of a move there, but interestingly, Cameron Kaboom has gone on to a set of medium compound tyres for the 2nd stint. So let's see how that works for him. Now he's in 6th place, just behind Aston on a set of soft compound tyres. Abyss and Dan also pitting for soft compound tyres. And hello and welcome to everyone who is tuning in to the Japanese Grand Prix here at Suzuka, the penultimate race of the season before we stay in Japan, go to Fuji for the final race of the season. As Bon Evil pulls into the pit to try and undercut Play Duchy, but here comes Marcus Armstrong trying to get ahead of Mr. Brad Loyalty in the 4GT. He's run wide onto the AstroTurf and lets Matty go through on the inside. Hello Wolfie in the chat. Obviously this race is not streamed live, as Abyss has made another mistake running wide through 130R. Drivers really trying to push 130R, trying to take it as flat out as they can, but it has cost a few mistakes. So drivers running wide. I do found, which is interesting at the circuit, you can run wide at 130R, not get a penalty. Wolfie on the inside of Black Country Mush. Not on this occasion, but if you do run wide on through 130R, you lose time to the car in front and you don't get a penalty. Probably the best corner for track limits in Gran Turismo history. Unlike Le Mans, where you just kiss the track limits. You don't even kiss the track limits. You social distance yourself from the white line and you still get a 2-second time penalty. It's like the complete opposite here, but look at the run in the Alfa Romeo. Wolfie on the inside of Black Country. Mush, they make contact. Mush is off. Down at turn 1, he's on the AstroTurf. Can he keep the car at a straight line? Ted's also off. And he's round at turn 1. He's creating a mobile chicane for Black Country Mush. He rejoins the track in 12th place as Tiger slips one down inside at turn 2. That was a really interesting turn of events. Wolfie just giving Black Country Mush a little bit of a tap. Did Black Country turn in a little bit too early? Or did Wolfie open up the steering? It was hard to tell. But the Irishman now up into 10th place. Will be scoring 2 points if he can finish in 10th place. Marcus Armstrong with the fastest lap of the race. Dutchy and Tops just staying up for another lap on those mediums as the McLaren runs wide. And although Costa didn't lift off significantly, won't get a penalty because this game has got good track limits at 130R. I have to say that because it doesn't have good track limits at every circuit. Le Mans specifically. Hobbiton and Dutchy staying up for another lap, so they could be on a potential one-stop strategy. These are really interesting races, the 1 versus the 2 stop. We saw it last week in Laguna Seca, where Tiger and Natty tried it. And, well, on paper it worked, but if you eliminate mistakes and collisions... Oh, that's Bon Evil off at turn 1. Bon Evil deep and wide at turn 1, and he's... don't know whether he lost the position on that or just lost time. But the McLaren driver with the fastest lap of the race thus far, running the rainbow colours on the fern on the side of the McLaren. In addition to the car from Grand Valley, the first race that took place in the month of June, and has stayed on the car ever since. In addition to the 3 colours on the... my mind's gone blank, the thing above the windshield screen thing. Never mind. Interestingly, Bonnie Bluff actually down into 5th place. So, Matthew and Cameron Kaboom have undercut him, although a little bit more fuel has been put into the back of that Alfa Romeo than the cars around him, but not by much. So we're at that much of a lead, or a disadvantage I should say, to the other cars. On board with the Alfa Romeo, you can see it's ridiculous straight line speed as it hunts down that McLaren in front. Looking further down the grid with Wolfie on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. I noticed in the chat earlier he promised he got understeer down at turn 1, which I don't believe. I believe he took out black on Mush on purpose to try and gain the position. No, I'm joking, of course not. I thought he went wide there actually. Oh, speaking of, he has gone wide onto the AstroTurf. That's going to cost him time to Tiger behind as the Porsche gains on that Italian Alfa Romeo. Look at the closing speed on board with the Porsche. Tiger's got to go for it into 130R. He's just going to tuck him behind for now. Big Wolfie, a little bit of a bump draft in towards the breaker zone contact. Wolfie's off, nearly into the barriers down at the Cassia Tartan Triangle. Tiger slows down on the exit of the corner just to let Wolfie go back through. It race for Tiger so far in this race. He's made a couple of mistakes. There's another one. Gets away with no damage. Black Country Mush and Wolfie are side by side in turn 1 once again. This time Mush is on the inside. Later on the brakes, gets the move done. That demotes Wolfie now down into 11th place. Whether Tiger broke a little bit too late, lost concentration, or whether it was Wolfie braking earlier and Tiger just not expecting it, I'm not too sure. Stewards might want to take a look at that one. But the championships have been wrapped up, so drivers might be a little bit more lenient with making claims. Although there was an incident in their personal rivalries with another driver out in the circuit, whether it be the battle for 2nd place, the battle for 5th or 7th, whatever it may be. And with limited races left to go on the calendar, every point matters. Meanwhile, Dutchy and Tobster stay out for another lap. What's the gap between those two? About 7 seconds between Dutchy and Tobster. Ideally, if they're going to be making a pit stop in the next lap or two, Cameron Kaboom's in a decent position actually to maybe get the jump on Tobster. Not sure he's currently got the pace to get the jump on Dutchy, although he is on a set of medium compound tyres. There's Natty and Bon Evil and softs. Natty with worse tyre wear than Bon Evil, but bear in mind that the McLaren pitted a lot earlier than that Alfa Romeo, albeit by, what's it, 2 or 3 laps I think. Scout Dan running in 7th place, not too far behind Abyss. And there's black and silver Nissan GTR, but unfortunately it's not the red Coca-Cola Ferrari that we started the season in, so we'll score no points if he finishes inside the top 11. But maybe it's a confidence boost for Dan to score some points on a car he's comfortably driving in. Did have the unfortunate record of not finishing a race, or in every race he entered, but that record came to an end last week at Laguna Seca, where he did finish in the points. But unfortunately, again, it was in the Nissan GTR, so maybe we are in Group 3 next season. No promises. And Dan might go for the Nissan GTR. We might see him fighting for some more points. With P7, very good showing from the Scout Dan. Was in 5th, I think, but last week at Laguna Seca. Three-way fight for 9th place, being led by Black Country Mush, Wolfie and Tiger, who I think have all hit or made contact with each other at some point during this race. Wolfie with a snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 14. Going to bring Tiger closer and going for a move in towards 130R. Wolfie defensive on the inside. Tiger can't quite find a way through, riding on board with the Porsche. Wolfie's widen off the track and out of shot as Tiger goes through, and that's a very dark cloud looming over the northern side of the circuit. Assuming the track map is accurate, but who knows if it is. No north arrow, so we're going to say it is. I've got absolutely no idea if it's representative or not. Massive slide from Tiger through turn 1. As Bon Evil has actually got past Natty. I have missed that overtake, unfortunately. But the Alfa Romeo back ahead of the McLaren. That's right on board and side of the McLaren. On board with the passenger, or the invisible passenger, I guess. And that McLaren, well, Bon Evil's wide onto the AstroTurf and goes off the track, and that's another mistake from Bon Evil at this circuit. Bonnie famously, how do I word this without being her? Historically, Bon Evil's record at the Suzuka races haven't been great. Let's put it that way. From Group 2 to Super Formula, now in Group 3. Is running in P5, but has made quite a few mistakes in this race. It has to be said, the two leaders are into the pits, off of the mediums, taking them to 17 laps, albeit with a puncture on Play Dutch's Porsche. So it's the one stop for those two, and it's come kaboom for the lead of the race. Now with Bon Evil now into a podium position. There's that camera shot showing how close the front three now are in this race. Dutchy leaving the pits in 6th, Tobster leaving the pits in 7th. On mediums. Oh no, softs. It just updated a little bit later as he exited the pit lane. Meanwhile, we've had a change position for 9th place. Tiger in 9th, Mush in 11th, and in 10th, sorry, Wolfie in 11th. All three drivers yet to make another pit stop. They don't have to. Black Country Mush does though, starting on mediums, has gone on to mediums. So has to fulfill the mandatory tyre regulations and use another compound. Oh, hey, look at this! We're going to go back and just look at this because we've got some racing action for 2nd place. Natty running wide on the exit of the 2nd Degner. Bon Evil with the run up the hill in towards the hairpin. Natty goes defensive to the inside. Bon Evil swoops right round the outside of the McLaren. A beautifully executed move from the Brit on those fresher soft compound tyres and finds the grip. Moves up into 2nd place, but can he keep it? Meanwhile, Abyss and Dan now fighting for 4th place. As you can see, Play Dutchy making his way now through the hairpin, closing in on that battle and not wanting to catch it, otherwise that's going to cost him in his attempt to execute the one-stop strategy. But for those who are currently watching the live stream, let me know what your favourite livery is out on the circuit. I think I've been through all of them so far. But here are the two Nissan GTRs fighting at their home circuit, side by side, wheel to wheel, in towards 130R. Abyss on the inside, Dan going to try and go round the outside. But Abyss has gone wide onto the AstroTurf, just about keeps it out of the gravel. Dan's going to try and go round the outside, in towards the Casio triangle. Just sets himself up for a move in towards the first corner. Here we go. Down on the throttle early, tucks into the slipstream nicely behind Abyss. Pulls over to the right hand side of the circuit, and side by side with the Nissan GTR. Down on the inside, brakes earlier than Abyss, who keeps the position around the outside. Great racing from these two, being caught by Play Dutchy though, who's gone wide off the track down at turn 1. A mistake from the net race leader and current championship leader. That's going to cost him a couple of tenths. Oh, Abyss has gone off the circuit and Dan's hit the back of him. They're already 1.3 seconds down in their personal best through the first sector as Dan's found room on the inside at turn 7 and up into 4th place. More often than not, especially in GT3 cars, people look at Suzuka and they say, Natty, where are the overtaking opportunities? You can only go for it in towards 130R and turn 1 just about, but I say no. We've seen moves at the hairpin, we've seen moves at the S's. Moves in towards the final chicane. He's still keeping up with the back of Bon Evil here on that 19 out of 18, 28. That 19 and 18, then it's supposed to be over. Oh, but Bonnie's ran wide, Natty's ran wide, just now keeps it in a straight line. Maybe starting to struggle in those soft compound tyres. Is he going to dive into the pits? Maybe try and undercut Bon Evil? Well, he does dive into the pits, but so does the Bon Evil, who still has a little bit of life left in those soft compound tyres, so I'm surprised he didn't go a lap or two longer, but maybe just trying to cover up the undercut attempts from Natty behind, who has reacted. Look at this, 3 wide on the exit of the final chicane. Dutchy slipping through on the inside. There's Dan and Abyss both coming to the pits. Let's have a look at this one more time. On board with Play Dutchy. How did this end up being 3 wide? Dan's gone deep, rejoins the circuit on the racing line. Abyss can't quite find a way through. Dan gets a snuff of oversteer, which forces Abyss over to the left hand side. Let's look at that on board with Abyss's point of view. On board with the Brit, you can see Dan going wide and off the track, rejoins the circuit. I think either gets a snuff of oversteer, tries to get out of the way, not a snuff of oversteer, but Abyss is trying to get into the pits, and so is Dan, but Dutchy's on the inside. Incredible drama here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Oh, Dutchy's not going to be too happy about that, and it's cost him more time on this lap. That 4 Ps through Dutchy's name. Not sure how that's happened actually. He might have got a penalty or something on one of them. But 2 of them are for making a pit stop, that's for sure. Where the other 2 have come from, but I don't know why there are so many Ps on the right hand side of the screen. Because they're not penalties. Or I don't know. Someone in the comments, let me know what the Ps mean. I thought they meant pit stops, but apparently it just means, I don't know. Can't be personal best, because you can see Natty's not done any personal best lap times by those Ps. Well, he's done 1, which is the first lap of the race, but I don't know, what? The lap times after pit stops, I think. I don't know, let me know. I'm so confused. Now the Ps have disappeared. That's very interesting. So, it's a conspiracy theory with the Ps. Anyway, I've got a bit distracted with Ps on the leaderboard. Cam Kaboom leading more laps in this race after starting in 2nd place. The pole sitter, championship leader, running in 2nd and doesn't have to make another pit stop, nor does Topster, and is being caught by Bon Evil. Actually, interestingly, the fight for the podium position is now won between these 3 drivers, with Natty, Bon Evil closing down the gap to Topster and fresher soft compound tyres. or I should say tried to close down that gap to Topster. But we know the German is a very quick driver. Born Evil's off the track, Natty's off the track as well. Both drivers trying to push that corner as much as they can to try and catch up to the back of the German international and finish on that final step on the podium. In towards turn one once again. Topster leading Bonnie, leading Natty. Wortmann's in 6th place, headed down in a bit in 7th and 8th. Country Musher 9th, Wolfie's into the pits in 10th. Aston going through the final corner in 11th, and Tiger running in stone dead last in 12th place, just outside the points on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. Looks like Wolfie's leaving the pits just ahead of Tiger as they go in towards turn 1. But Bonnie will still trying to close down that gap to Topster in front to finish this race on the podium. Cam Kaboom, I think, will be into the pits at the end of this lap after those mediums and bolt on a set. Soft compound tyres. There he will filter out, I'm not too sure. Might come out in 3rd place. Ahead of Topster, or it could be very close actually between these 3 drivers, and where Callum Kaboom leaves the pit lane. It's actually purple to the 3rd sector. Can he beat Marcus Armstrong's lap time and gain an extra point at the end of the race? But Callum Kaboom's into the pits. This could be very close indeed. We're going to continue to watch from the perspective of Topster as they make their way through the final corner down the start-finish straight. Where is that Lexus? It's right on board with Matthew. You can see it making its way through turn 1, filtered in behind Bon Evil and ahead of the McLaren. Gone a little bit too deep, carrying a lot of speed. That's a lot of understeer onto the AstroTurf and onto the grass, and that's the McLaren off down at turn 1. That does look like a very weird, unnatural lot of understeer. Push immersion 9th place. Ahead of Aston. Tiger's off into the barrier. What's happened here with the Brit? I think it looks like he's broke at the 50-metre board and is in the barrier with front bumper and suspension damage. It's not the first time you've seen that barrier at Suzuka. Flashing back to a famous incident between him and his teammate. Topster's wide off the track, Bonnie's in 2nd, and Cameron's now in a podium position. A mistake from Topster at the 2nd Degner. He's lost 2 positions in the process. Bonnie will now come to 2nd place. Portman's down, and Abyss trying to fight it out for 6th place with the final 6 laps to go. Here on lap 22 of 28. Getting closer and closer to the final lap of the race. I think he started on soft, so I don't think he needs to make another pit stop. He's under pressure from the scout down, he's trying to go round the outside. This is a very unconventional overtaking opportunity, but he's going for the move down the inside and spoon curve. Beautiful move from Dan, up into 6th place. And you can't tell because I don't have a face cam, but I am genuinely sweating just sitting here. Let's get a live temperature update. 30 degrees. I would have my fan on, but you would hear it in the background. Actually, I might try. It's because I'm melting here. Dan in 6th place. Abyss trying to follow him through and get the move done on Fortman's down the start-finish straight. And he's already got it done before they get to the braking zone of turn 1. Black Country Mush dives into the pits with only 6 laps to go. It's bolt on a set of soft compound tyres. Dutchy in the lead of the race, comfortably. About 8 seconds clear of Bon Evil in second and Cameron Kaboom in third place. Cameron sticking with Bon Evil. Topster just dropping off the back of Cameron Kaboom and Matty maintaining that gap to Topster, about a second or two between them. Not quite in the slipstream range as Dan running in a really good strong 6th place for himself. Ahead of Abyss in 7th place. So we could see the two Brits battling it out in the dying laps of this race. Correction, it's actually 31 degrees. Well, at least it's going to be colder tomorrow. Anyway, let's not get bogged down over the weather. If you're watching this not live and it's like December or something, then it's going to be completely irrelevant. Unless you're in New Zealand or Australia, then it's totally relevant because obviously your summers are our winters. Just closing in on the back of the Scout Dan. Natty trying to go for a move on tops there. Meanwhile, Cameron Kaboom putting Bon Evil under pressure through the S's chicane. The S's chicane, the S's section. The championships have been wrapped up, so it's all to play for, nothing to lose, with the final 5 laps to go in this race. Here at Suzuka. Through the hairpin for the 24th time in this race, and it's Bon Evil who leads Cameron Kaboom in the battle for 2nd place. This could be a very close finish between these two, as they keep it on the circuit, obviously. As Cameron Kaboom nearly goes into the back of Bon Evil through Spoon Curve. This could be very spicy towards the end of this race between these two drivers. They're actually comfortably in the lead, so they don't have to worry about catching him. Nothing to lose through 130R. Can Cameron Kaboom send one down the inside? At least I don't think it's close enough on this occasion to go for any moves. Dan and Abyss are still fighting for 6th place. The two Nissan GTRs on home soil, side by side and wheel to wheel in the run down towards 130R. With Dan on the inside, but just tucks back in behind, and Abyss now up into 6th place. Going through the final chicane. Abyss in the lead in the battle for 6th place. Bon Evil still putting Cameron Kaboom in his mirrors. It's going to be tough for Cameron to find a way through that Alfa Romeo really quick in a straight line, and the main overtaking opportunities do occur at the end of the straights at the circuit. Unless he can get close enough to send one at the hairpin. We'll have to wait and see. Dan not quite close enough to send one on Abyss. But back up to the leaders. Here comes Cameron Kaboom. And he's sending one. He's close enough to Bon Evil. Closer than he's ever been, but Bonnie defends the inside line. Cameron's going to go wide and try and get a good exit. He can maybe try and send one into Spoon. It doesn't look like he's got a good exit. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit of the corner. And so accelerate down towards turn 13 and 14. On board with the Lexus, nearly runs into the back of the Alfa Romeo onto the AstroTurf. Just about keeps it within the limits. Now down the back straights once again. probably the best overtaking I can't say that phrase. The best overtaking opportunity for Cameron Kaboom is probably into the Cato Triangle. It's the longest straight at this circuit if you include the flat-out section, or really flat-out section of 130R. I think the Alfa Romeo just has the legs on the Lexus to keep ahead from the final corner to turn 1. Meanwhile, Natty's caught up to the back of Top 2 in the battle for 4th place. We see a change of position there with only 3 laps to go. Abyss keeps 6th place as they start lap 26, but Bon Evil defensive through turn 1. Cameron Kaboom trying to work it round the outside, but gets all sorts of out of shape on the exit of the corner, nearly facing perpendicular to the racing line. Meanwhile, Abyss and Dan are side by side once again, the two GTRs putting up a show for us going in towards the first corner. Abyss late on the brakes. Was it too late? No, it wasn't. A great defensive driving from the Brits to keep 6th place. Meanwhile, the other 2 Brits fighting for 2nd place. Still very close together. It's going to be the widest Alfa Romeo you've ever seen at this circuit. You see Bon Evil defending from Cameron Kaboom, actually trying to close down the gap to Tobster. Not too far behind these guys, so if there are any incidents, those two will be quick to capitalise. Was there contact, or did Abyss go into the grass as he goes defensive to the inside? Dan trying to swoop it around the outside, really wide from Dan to try and get the best possible exit from the hairpin in the run down towards Spoon Curve. He's done this move once, can he do it twice? Around the outside of turn 12, Abyss is defensive into Spoon Curve. You've got to be brave to go round the outside, brave enough and trust the other driver's not going to push you onto the AstroTurf. But up front, it's Bon Evil in 2nd, Cameron Kaboom in 3rd, Tops in 4th, Nat in 5th, Abyss just about hanging on for 6th place. The Scout Dan trying to get that position lap after lap. They're side by side into 130R, but so are the leaders. Cameron Kaboom gaining and gaining, and Bon Evil, who defends the inside line round the outside for Cameron, but it's too much, too late on the brakes. Is that the move over for Cameron Kaboom onto the gravel? Was it too ambitious for Cameron to try and go round the outside at turn 1? Is that the opportunity to finish in 2nd place for him over? But back down to the battle for 6th place. Dan's going to go down inside, backs out of the move at the last minute. Meanwhile, Aston F1's got 2 punctures to the rear tyres with 2 laps to go. And Black Country Mush and Wolfie are gaining on that battle. Dutchy on the penultimate lap of the race, as the gap for 2nd place has opened up to about a second or 2 after the mistake at turn 1. Nat is not able to, or hasn't been able to close down that gap to Tobster despite the fresher tyres. But the battle is still on for 6th place in this race between Abyss and Dan. Meanwhile, Fortman's in 8th place, running ahead of Aston, struggling for tyre wear in that Ford GT. Look at the gap that Black Country Mush and Wolfie have closed down to the back of Aston. Tigers into the pits for a fastest lap attempt. He's got a beat of 1 minute 58.4. He's to claim the fastest lap of the race. But look at this as Dutchy starts the final lap of the race. Cameron Kaboom has caught up to the back of Bon Evil. We could have a last lap showdown between these two. Let's keep an eye out as well in the battle for 9th place. Here at the final corner, starting the final lap of the race. Cameron Kaboom and Bon Evil side by side, wheel to wheel, down the start finish straight in towards turn 1. Bon Evil squeezing Cameron Kaboom, contact into turn 1 as Bon Evil sideways through the first corner. Cameron lifts off the throttle to let him go back through. Who was at fault for that one? I'm not too sure whether it will just go down as a racing incident. That must have been a heart in the mouth moment for Bon Evil. Meanwhile, Natty's gone off the track trying to push for P4. All sorts of out of shape, struggling on those soft compound tyres. But Cameron could be one very fresh, soft compared to Bon Evil, doing the medium soft compared to the medium soft. But Bon Evil were tempted. A little bit of air over the inside curb. Cameron nearly pushing the Alfa Romeo through the second sector. Bonnie defensive into the hairpin. Forces Cameron Kaboom to go round the outside. Here on the final lap of the race. Aston still trying to defend from Black Country Must despite having 2 punctures. Black Country Mush goes right round the outside, but somehow Aston finds a way through Mush on the AstroTurf. Dan and Abyss now side by side. Bonnie and conceded the position to Cameron Kaboom, who's got through at Spoon. 3 battles happening on the final lap of the race. But going in towards 130R for the final time on the final lap. Bon Evil with the inside line through 130R. Can they keep it within track limits? Yes, they do. And last lap overtake for Bon Evil into the final chicane. Dutchy wins the race backwards and sideways over the line, but Bon Evil's just going to finish ahead of Cameron Kaboom in second place. Cameron with a 5-10 penalty, maybe even just about got that on the line. Topster in 4th, Nat in 5th. Can Abyss keep down at bay for 6th place through 130R? Dan's ran wide off the track, and that's going to be that battle over. So Abyss is going to finish in 6th place with 2 punctures to the front tyres. Dan's going to finish with a puncture to the front right. Bortmans will finish in 8th place, but let's have a look at this battle for 9th place between Aston, Black Country Mush and Wolfie. How heated will this get? They're nearly 3 wide through the Spoon curve. Aston ahead of Black Country Mush side by side with Wolfie. How's this going to end? I'm not too sure. Aston in the 4GT now ahead through 130R, defensive to the inside. Black Country Mush tries to go for a gap on the inside. Black Country Mush contact with Aston. Aston's gone off. Black Country Mush cuts the chicane and through goes Wolfie round the outside up into 9th place. Unbelievable stuff. As Wolfie finishes in 9th, Black Country Mush in 10th and Aston in 11th. I think it's worth watching that one more time. On board with Black Country Mush, Aston defends the inside line, but Mush has already made up his mind. Forces Aston off, cuts the chicane, and then through goes Wolfie right round the outside, gains 2 positions in 2 corners on the last lap. This is a view on board with the Irishman. Watch the drama as it all kicks off in front of him. There goes Aston, off goes Mush, and through goes Wolfie. Hamilton style. And that's Wolfie with 3 points rather than 1, Mush with 2, and Aston with 1. Tiger Assassin in his final lap, trying to go for the fastest lap, and is currently 5 tenths down through the 3rd sector. And it's been a race to forget for the Brits. Struggled in season 6 and the struggles continued over to season 7. He rounds the final corner and finishes in a lonely 12th place. But there you have it, the end of the Japanese Grand Prix. Drama from lap 1 to 28 all throughout the field. And let's go through the finishing order for this race. Tiger in 12th, Aston in 11th, Black Country Mush in 10th, and Wolfie in 9th. But I think that incident might be looked at by the stewards, considering these 3 drivers are really close to each other in the Drivers' Championship. Foreman's in 8th, Dan in 7th, Abyss in 6th, Natty in 5th, Topster in 4th, Cameron Kaboom in 3rd, Bon Evil in 2nd, and the race leader once again, Play Dutchy. That's a very dark cloud. A dark cloud for a dark photo of your race leader. There you have it. your champion for season 7, I should add. Once again, he's done it again. Can anyone stop him? But there you have it, 28 chaotic laps here at Suzuka for the penultimate round of season 7. With only one more to go at Fuji, we stay in Japan. And I will say the same message that I told the drivers after the end of this race. Make sure you've got your armbands ready for Fuji, because things are about to get exciting. You don't want to miss it. Same time, same place next week. I'll see you guys later. But before we do, make sure to subscribe to the Twitch and the YouTube. Give this video a like if you enjoyed. It would be very much appreciated. Congrats to Dutchy for the Drivers' Championship, and congrats to Dutchy and Bon Evil for winning the Team's Championship here at Season 7. No one could beat them this year. We'll have to wait and see what Season 8 brings. But until then, goodbye.